Hey everybody, Lucas from our Liberty House here, and today we're going to be canning stock. We made this broth yesterday, let it cool overnight, skimmed the fat off and reheated it this morning, and now it's time to start filling it into our jars and get it in the pressure canner. This is a super intimidating task for a lot of people, and it really shouldn't be. It's safe, it's easy, and it really doesn't take that much of your time to have delicious homemade broth and stock year-round that you can keep in your pantry and don't take up too much freezer space. Stick with us here and I'll go over it step by step. Okay, it's time to start filling our jars. One key thing you want to have here is a jar filling funnel. This will save you a lot of hassle and time and mess. We'll just start ladling into each jar. And we want to make sure we only fill it up to where we're going to leave an inch of headspace off the top. Headspace just meaning an inch from the top of the jar down. And that'll allow for expansion while it's boiling in the pressure canner. So we'll just keep doing this until they're all filled up or we're out of stock. And then we're going to put new lids. Make sure they're new lids. You can't reuse the lids. We can reuse the rings, but we can't reuse the lids. So we warm these up and clean them just with hot water. And then we'll put each lid on the jar and then secure it with a ring. Okay, so now that the jars are filled, we're gonna put the rings on. And if you make a mess around the rim, just have a clean, moist towel to wipe it off. It's fine if it's wet. And then we're gonna put the rings just right centered on the jar. And then just warming these up. One, cleaning them and then warming them up lets the rubber gasket soften and create a better seal. So we had a little bit less stock than we planned for, but it's always nice to prep more jars than you need. That way you're not scrambling to get more if you have too much. So then once we get the jars filled, we got the lids on, you want to put the ring on gently. And this just needs to be finger tight. Like you don't want to crank it down, but just get it snug. You'll be good to go. Once we get this done, we'll move them over to the pressure canner and we will fill it up with hot water and then get it on the stove. And we're gonna process these at least 11 pounds of pressure. So you don't want to fall below 11 pounds because that's the quote-unquote danger zone. 11 to 15 pounds of pressure. Alright, let's go over the pressure canner. This seems to be one of the most intimidating things for people who are getting into preserving. What we have is a 23 quart Presto pressure canner and cooker. This thing is really versatile. We can use it for water bath canning, we can use it for pressure cooking, and we use it all the time for pressure canning. So I highly recommend this product. We'll drop a link below. It's the base, the lid, the pressure gauge, and the pressure widget. So we've got our jars in there. We filled up water to the recommended line, turned on the heat, and we're gonna let this thing heat up to a boil. And we're not gonna put the pressure widget on until we hear it boiling and we see steam coming from the vent here. We'll place that pressure widget right on top, and then we'll monitor the gauge to at least 11 pounds of pressure. And then at that time, we're gonna start our timer which is 25 minutes because we're using quart jars. If you were using pint jars, it would be 20 minutes. And that timer starts, like I said, once we hit 11 pounds of pressure. Alright guys, so it's been 25 minutes, the broth is done pressure canning, and we're going to turn the heat off and then just remove the pressure canner from the heat just to help cool it down faster. So for safety, we want to make sure that the pressure gauge just naturally cools all the way down to 0, and then the pressure indicator in the back of the lid is down and flat. And once this is 0 and that is flat, we'll remove the pressure regulator, let all the steam vent out of it before opening the lid. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes since we took it off the heat. It's completely cooled down. The pressure's at 0. The pressure gauge in the back is completely flat. We took the pressure regulator off. It's time to open the lid, and then we're going to use a jar lifter just to pull the jars out. It's still super hot, so that's why we want to use this jar lifter and just take it slow and be careful. And just like that. Yeah, these jar lifters are definitely a must-have. Didn't have one for a while. We just used tongs and broke more than one jar. Alright, now we'll just let these cool down overnight and check the lids in the morning, make sure that they're depressed and sealed and labeled and put in the pantry. Alright guys, I hope that walkthrough was easy enough to follow. We'll drop a couple links down below for some of the products we use, plus a couple blogs we've written that'll maybe give you some more detail. Make sure you like this video and let us know if you have any questions.